Okay, let's talk about car prices right now because we know they're still pretty high, especially with the interest rates as high as they are.
Cars are also more expensive now, which automakers have blamed on supply shortages, leading to an increase in demand.
$89,000 BMW for $19,500. Dealers calling customers at midnight, begging them to take cars. I'm standing in Mike Rodriguez's BMW dealership in Phoenix right now, watching him make the most desperate phone calls of his 23-year career. It's 11:47 p.m., and he's calling customers from a list he compiled 6 months ago, offering deals that sound like scams. "I know you looked at an X5 back in January," Mike says to the confused customer on the other end. "I'll give you one for $19,500, cash, tonight. I just need it gone." The customer hangs up, thinking it's a scam, but Mike isn't lying. He's desperate. The BMW X5 sitting on his lot has been there for 247 days, costing him $47 daily in floor plan interest. That's $11,609 he's paid just to keep one car that nobody wants. This isn't just about Mike's dealership. This is about the complete collapse of automotive retail as we know it. And what I'm about to show you will change how you think about buying cars forever. The midnight desperation calls. But to understand how we got to dealers making midnight phone calls, you need to see what happened 3 weeks ago when everything broke. Mike's BMW dealership used to sell 180 cars monthly. Last month, he sold 12 cars. His overhead costs $127,000 monthly, whether he sells one car or 100. His floor plan financing alone costs $89,000 monthly for the 340 vehicles sitting on his lot. "I'm hemorrhaging $8,000 daily just keeping the lights on," Mike tells me, his voice cracking with exhaustion. "Every morning, I wake up $8,000 poorer than when I went to sleep. The mathematics are brutal and simple. Mike owes his floor plan lender $14.7 million for his inventory. The interest rate jumped from 3.2% to 11.8% in 6 months. His monthly payment went from $39,000 to $144,000. But here's the killer. He can't sell the cars at any price. That $89,000 BMW inventory nobody wants. But here's what makes this crisis different from every previous automotive downturn. The cars aren't just slow sellers, they're actively becoming worthless. I'm walking through Mike's lot with him at 6 a.m. before customers arrive, and what I see there represents the biggest automotive disaster in American history. Row after row of 2023 and 2024 vehicles that should be premium products, but have become toxic assets. "That Alpina B7 cost me $142,000, Mike says, pointing to a gleaming sedan that's been sitting for 289 days. "I'd sell it for $60,000 tomorrow if anyone wanted it, but nobody even looks at it anymore." The Alpina B7 represents everything wrong with the current market. It's a $142,000 luxury sedan with 600 horsepower and every conceivable feature, but it gets 14 miles per gallon, requires premium fuel, and costs $3,200 annually just for basic maintenance. In an economy where families are choosing between groceries and gas, it's become an automotive dinosaur. Therefore, Mike is trapped in a vicious cycle where his most expensive inventory generates the highest carrying costs, while having the lowest probability of sale. But the bleeding gets worse when you understand what's happening to the vehicles themselves. Cars sitting on lots for 200+ days start developing problems from non-use. Batteries die from sitting idle. Tires develop flat spots. Paint fades from sun exposure. Rubber seals dry out and crack. These aren't just unsold cars anymore. They're deteriorating assets that lose value every day they sit. "I have a 2023 X7 that won't start because the battery died," Mike explains, showing me a $98,000 SUV that's become a paperweight. "The replacement battery costs $400, but I can't justify spending money on a car I can't sell." The irony is devastating. Mike is paying $47 daily to store a car that's becoming less valuable every day due to neglect he can't afford to prevent. But the real shock came when Mike showed me his secret weapon for survival. 3 months ago, Mike started what he calls stealth liquidation. He's selling BMWs through online auctions, Craigslist, and even Facebook Marketplace without identifying himself as a dealer. The The goal is to move inventory at any price without damaging his brand reputation. I sold a $75,000 X3 on Craigslist for $28,000 last week, Mike admits, looking embarrassed. The buyer thought he was getting a deal from a private party. I lost $31,000 on the sale, but I stopped the bleeding on carrying costs. Mike's stealth liquidation strategy reveals how desperate dealers have become. They're willing to destroy their profit margins and deceive customers just to generate cash flow and reduce inventory carrying costs. Therefore, the cars you see advertised at massive discounts aren't deals. They're desperate attempts by dealers to stop financial hemorrhaging before it kills their businesses entirely. But Mike's desperation tactics pale in comparison to what other dealers are doing to survive. The dealer survival tactics. Last week, I visited Tom Patterson's Cadillac dealership in Dallas, where he's literally paying customers to take cars. And what I witnessed there shows just how far dealers will go to survive. Tom explains his impossible situation with the exhausted look of someone who's been fighting a losing battle for 8 months. His dealership used to sell 220 cars monthly. Last month, he sold 31. His monthly overhead is $156,000, whether he sells 1 car or 300. We're selling cars below our cost just to pay our floor plan financing, Tom tells me, and I can see the stress written all over his face. Every sale loses money, but we can't afford to stop selling. But Tom's survival strategy goes beyond simple discounting. He's created what he calls negative equity absorption, essentially paying customers existing car loans to get them into new vehicles. I had a customer with a $45,000 loan balance on a truck worth $28,000, Tom explains. I paid off his entire loan and gave him a new Escalade for $200 monthly. I lost $73,000 on the deal, but I moved inventory and generated cash flow. The mathematics are insane, but they make sense in Tom's desperate situation. That Escalade was costing him $67 daily in floor plan interest. By taking a $73,000 loss, he stopped the daily bleeding and freed up credit line space for new inventory he might actually be able to sell. Therefore, Tom is essentially paying customers to take cars off his hands, treating massive losses away. I offered a customer a brand new 300 sedan for $18,000. Linda explains, showing me the window sticker that reads $38,450. He looked at it, laughed, and said he wouldn't take it for free because nobody makes parts for Chrysler anymore. The customer wasn't wrong. Chrysler's parts supply chain is collapsing as the brand contracts. Independent mechanics refuse to work on newer Chrysler products because parts are expensive, hard to find, and the vehicles have reliability issues that generate comebacks. Therefore, Linda is stuck with inventory that's not just unsellable, it's actively toxic to her business reputation. But Linda's survival strategy reveals just how desperate the situation has become. She started what she calls brand laundering, removing Chrysler badges and selling vehicles as luxury sedans without identifying the manufacturer. The goal is to move inventory without the stigma of the Chrysler name. I sold a 300S last week by advertising it as a premium rear-wheel drive sedan with Hemi 5.8, Linda admits. The buyer didn't realize it was a Chrysler until he saw the paperwork. By then, he'd already fallen in love with the car. Linda's brand laundering strategy worked once, but word spreads fast in the car community. Customers now specifically ask if vehicles are Chrysler products, and Linda has to either lie or lose the sale. The ethical implications are staggering, but Linda feels trapped between honesty and survival. I have 47 employees depending on me, Linda says, her voice breaking. If I close, they lose their jobs. If I'm honest about what I'm selling, I can't pay their salaries. What am I supposed to do? Therefore, Linda is forced to choose between business ethics and business survival, illustrating how the automotive crisis is corrupting even honest dealers. But Linda's desperation led to the most shocking revelation about what's really happening in the car market. Last month, Linda received a call from Stellantis Corporate offering to buy back her entire Chrysler inventory at 40 cents on the dollar. The manufacturer would rather take massive losses than continue supporting dealers who can't sell their products. They offered me $1.2 million for inventory that cost me $3.1 million, Linda explains. It's a terrible deal, but it would stop the bleeding and let me focus on brands people actually want. Linda is seriously considering the buyback offer, even though it would cost her nearly $2 million, because continuing to carry Chrysler inventory is costing her more than that in opportunity costs and carrying charges. Therefore, even manufacturers are abandoning their own products, offering to buy back inventory from dealers rather than continue supporting brands that have become unsellable. Get my free guide. Avoid these 17 cars in 2025. By visiting the link in the description, Chrysler products dominate that list for obvious reasons. The customer rebellion. But the real story isn't what dealers are doing to survive. It's what customers are doing instead of buying new cars, and it's completely reshaping American transportation. Yesterday, I interviewed Jennifer Walsh, a nurse from Phoenix, who perfectly represents the customer rebellion that's destroying the new car market. She's driving a 2014 Honda Accord with 187,000 miles that she bought used 4 years ago for $12,000. The car needs new brakes, the air conditioning compressor is failing, and the paint is faded from Arizona sun. By every traditional measure, she should be shopping for a replacement. Instead, she's planning to keep driving it indefinitely. I can fix anything on my old Honda for under $1,500, Jennifer tells me. Why would I trade that for an $800 monthly payment on something I don't trust? Jennifer's rebellion isn't about money. She makes $78,000 annually and could qualify for financing. It's about rejecting the entire premise that Americans need new cars every few years. My neighbor bought a 2024 Accord, Jennifer explains. It's been in the shop 3 times for software updates and electronic problems. The infotainment system crashed and left her without navigation or climate control. Meanwhile, my 2014 just keeps running. Therefore, Jennifer represents millions of Americans who are choosing reliability over features, simplicity over technology, and ownership over debt. But Jennifer's rebellion goes deeper than just keeping her old car. She's part of a growing movement of Americans who are actively reducing their transportation needs rather than upgrading their vehicles. I realized I was spending $600 monthly on car payments, insurance, and gas to drive 8,000 miles annually, Jennifer says. That's $7,200 yearly for transportation I barely use. It's insane. Jennifer's transportation cost analysis reveals why the new car market is collapsing. When customers calculate the true cost of vehicle ownership, payments, insurance, maintenance, fuel, depreciation, many realize they're spending 25 to 30% of their income on transportation they could live without. Alternative transportation solutions are exploding in popularity as customers like Jennifer reject traditional car ownership. Car sharing services report 340% growth in membership. Motorcycle and scooter sales are increasing as people seek affordable alternatives. E-bike sales have tripled as customers choose $2,000 electric bikes over $50,000 electric cars. I bought an e-bike for $1,800, Jennifer tells me. It gets me to work faster than driving in traffic, costs nothing to operate, and I don't need insurance or registration. Why would I want a car payment? Therefore, the customer rebellion isn't just about avoiding new cars. It's about rejecting car-dependent lifestyles entirely. But the most shocking aspect of the customer rebellion is how it's spreading through social media and online communities. Facebook groups like Keep Your Old Car Running have grown to over 400,000 members sharing repair tips, maintenance schedules, and success stories about high-mileage vehicles. YouTube channels dedicated to car repair have exploded in popularity as people learn to maintain their existing vehicles rather than replace them. I learned to change my own oil, replace brake pads, and diagnose engine problems from YouTube, Jennifer says. Why would I pay a dealer $150 for an oil change when I can do it myself for $35? The DIY car maintenance movement is destroying dealer service revenue, which was supposed to offset declining new car sales. Customers are not only avoiding new car purchases, they're avoiding dealer service entirely. Therefore, the customer rebellion is attacking both sides of dealer profitability, new entirely.